Lawrie Goes Loco is sponsored by the Foxfield Railway.
Hello everybody and welcome back to LMM. And if you're enjoying what you're seeing on the channel at the moment, the links to our social media are coming up on the screen now, which includes things like our Discord, where you can talk to me, the rest of the team and other like-minded people about the kind of stuff that we show on the channel. Today I'm in Somerset at the Western Zoyland Pumping Museum on a day of questionable quantities. I'm not sure if today is going to be a total washout or if it's going to brighten up. It, at this time, could do either. And currently, I am stood at a place which harks back to many of my childhood fantasies and memories. There was a book I read when I was young, or rather my parents read to it, my mum read to me when I was little, about this abandoned railway which went up to a shed. And in the shed, there was a locomotive. And this little bit of railway here at the Western Zoyland Light Railway reminds me just of that. And it even says engine house. I mean, bearing in mind this is a pumping museum, engine house could mean engine, but with the railway in the floor, I'm assuming it means locomotives. Welcome to Lawrie Goes Loco. In the aptly named engine house, because there is a pumping engine just behind us and the old boiler just over here, we have today's locomotive, one of the very recognisable little Lister auto trucks. The problem is, of course, that this is 90 degrees to the door on the railway. It is a wonderful way of storing locomotives. Less wonderfully, it means that I now need to drag the thing outside. Oh, this is a tiny... Why is it such a tiny turntable for such a massive locomotive? Oh. What? Oh, dear me. Oh, a bit more. There we go. This is both the best and the worst way of putting an engine into a shed I've ever seen. Full of charm, very quaint. Oh, but full of effort. This looks like a good enough spot. I just put it right about there. How is exhausting? Oh. You may be asking, why did I not start it to drive out of the shed? And do you know what? I'm asking myself that as well. This seems like a flawed bit of design. But here we are. This very distinctive and easily recognisable thing is Lister Railtruck 34758 of 1949. And it looks very similar to basically any other design of Lister auto truck, well, Lister Railtruck, because that's what it is. Now, this one isn't original or how it originally left the factory, because the original petrol engine has been replaced with this two-cylinder Lister. One thing I particularly like about these things are how very Spartan and simple they look. And I do have one personal favourite thing about this entire thing, and that is this. The exhaust coming off this, the two-fold on the manifold here. That quite possibly is how it should be. And then we have this assembly, shall we say, of parts here, which... this is not exhaust. This is not an exhaust pipe, but I love it. It's such a wonderful bit of bodge and just adds more character to the whole locomotive. I really, really like that. And of course, the main feature on this, the thing that sets it apart from the other Lister they have here, is this. It has a canopy. Now, having a canopy on an engine like this does make it all the more enjoyable to be on, because without it, let's be honest, I've already pushed this out halfway once and got rained on. You might be able to see on the overalls that I'm a little bit damp. No canopy. It's lovely in summer. It's a gentleman's sporting locomotive. But a day like today, the canopy is very much appreciated. And that's about it. I mean, when we talk about the most basic and most simple locomotive that you can think of, this is it. It is a very simple frame. Little bits of U-beam there and there. An engine mounted, well, not in the middle, but there. Transmission in the middle and a seat. There literally cannot be anything more bare bones than this. It is as simple as it gets. Okay, maybe we could forget about the seat, but for the control system of this, that's kind of an integral part of it. It just is basic, isn't it? There's nothing on here. There's no bodywork. In a time where even things like motor rail simplexes and rustons, they were designed, they're pieces of art, they're beautiful, they've got curves, body panels, everything. Lister went, nah, that's not how we do it. Engine, plonk, bit of frame, plonk. Heavy old weights on the sides so it actually's got some kind of weight and some kind of traction. Job's a good one. And they'd ship it out. That's what they do with it. It's incredible, isn't it? This isn't like someone's taken everything off it to make it easier to work on. No, this is how it was. This is how it was intended to be, which is an absolutely bonkers concept. You don't get anything like this anymore, do you? Can you imagine buying a machine today? It's like, well, where's the health and safety? Where's the engine guard? Now, I mean, that is the most safety critical thing this has. Over there is a guard on the chain. That's as far as it went for safety critical things. And I think it's wonderful. And as a result, it's this absolutely fantastic looking little piece of industrial heritage. The locomotive, like the other Lister rail truck that we looked at, worked in the peat industry. In fact, this one also worked at Eclipse Peat Works at Ashcott, which is the same place the other one that we reviewed also worked at. So that and this worked in the same place. And the best thing about that is Ashcott is in Somerset. This thing is a Somerset locomotive. It came here to work and it stayed because when Eclipse were finished with it and they went, yep, and the work shut down, it went up for auction. And the trust here thought, you know what, we quite fancy having a 2-foot gauge railway and thought it would be quite a nice thing to acquire and to keep a locomotive that spent its entire working life in Somerset. There was one small problem. Even back then, a locomotive did, well, have some value to it. And when it went for auction, this little thing went for the pricely sum of £625, which is a fair amount of money, of which the trust didn't have. So, in order to acquire the locomotive, all of the members chipped in a little bit. They all put in like 20 quid. And so the list of owners for this thing was quite excessive. It was a locomotive owned by basically an entire corporation of people. They all came together to save this thing. And I think that's absolutely wonderful. So they came, and somewhere in the annals of the trust's history, there's the list of everyone who bought it when this locomotive had just an entire page worth of owners. And slowly it's basically been given over to the trust, and so the trust itself now owns it. But that's it. It was bought for the peat works, spent its life moving things around on the extensive networks. The network itself, when it was at its peak, was so big that it had a crossing with what was the Somerset and Dorset Joint Railway. So you had 2-foot crossing the standard gauge, which actually did lead to a rather bad disaster, which did then lead to a mainline train rolling off the line and going down a bank, at which point the crossing was no longer allowed to be instated, which is fair enough. But it was a huge network. But isn't it nice when you have a locomotive that spent its entire working life somewhere to still be, well, where it started life? The drive on this is pretty simple. It is a manual gearbox with a couple of gears, and the drive comes straight off the engine here, through a couple of chains here and a tensioner, with your chain guard here, into the gearbox, and straight up this side through onto another sprocket, onto 2 chains, which then drive each axle. So both axles are driven, all from there. It's just so amazingly simple. I think it's a wonderful piece of design. And of course, that's our other bit of protection there, this welded bit of plate over the top, so you can't get any of your clothing caught in the chain that's straight off the gearbox. I can't stress just how wonderfully simple this is. And it just turns off something like servicing. Oil filters there. Don't need to pull anything off. It's just grab, pull off, put a new one on. It's just brilliant. I love simple. Why do things get more complicated than this? All this needs to be nicer is a comfortable seat.
But first, a word from our sponsor.
This is the Foxfield Railway, a 2.5 mile award-winning industrial railway near Stoke-on-Trent in Staffordshire.
You guys know by now that I've been coming to the Foxfield Railway for years, and 2025 is set to be one of the best years yet. The railway reopens on Mother's Day, where you can get a delicious afternoon tea, which I've had and can definitely vouch for, and then the action-packed War Wheels returns on the 17th and 18th of May, and last year it was absolutely amazing, and this year I can exclusively reveal that there will be a Lancaster from the Battle of Britain Memorial flight doing a flypast on the Saturday, as well as Spitfire on display. This year the Foxfield Railway is going to be hosting its first ever model railway show and miniature mayhem weekend, featuring a wide variety of model railways and the miniature railway in operation, and if you fancy getting your hands dirty and having a go driving a full-sized engine, they offer a cracking driver experience course. And to help me out here at LMM and to keep up to date with things that are going on at the railway, sign up for the newsletter, remembering to click the You Found Us Through LMM to let them know that you found them through me. And with that, on with your regular content.
So let's have a look at how you control this rather complex and technical piece of equipment. In front of me, we have a gear stick, and that is got controls our gears, and that is also the reverser, so it's for forward and backwards and first and second, low and high gear. We have a handbrake here, which is used for stopping the locomotive and stabling the locomotive. That is everything I have for braking. I have this foot pedal here, which is my throttle, which goes through the nice linkage here. So if I pull that, the pedal also moves. And then I have a clutch here. And that's possibly the most complex thing to disconnect my drive. That's basically the main controls covered. There is an engine stop on the side here, that is in stop position, and if I bring it over there, that is the start position. And then there is, over here, my single favourite thing, a klaxon. That is it for the controls. Although there is one mystery that is yet to be completely solved. And that's how you get into it safely. You see, if I get into it, I have to kind of clamber over and then... I don't know if that's the right way to get into it. I've already now once caught my leg in between the shaft here and my foot just didn't go around. I do like the fact that I sit with this very much in between me. This is like a steering wheel in the middle of it. It all kind of works very well and I feel quite snug when I'm here. And of course, visibility front to back. I can see my drawbar at the back. The front, well, maybe not so much, but it's still pretty spectacularly good for seeing everything that's going on. So with this very complex machine looked at and the controls discussed, let's have a look at an equally complex way of prepping it. Having untangled myself from around the brake stand, it's time to look at how to start it. And well, that's quite complex. First off, we pull the dipstick out of here to check the gearbox oil, and it has some oil on it. We replace that, and we pull the dipstick out here to see if it's got any of the liquid black stuff on this one. It does. Make sure that we're in the start position by lifting that up there on the stop. We've got two decompressors here and we don't need them, so they're open. Then we open up the diesel tank, have a look in there to confirm there is liquid fuel there. And then we come round to the front to the pièce de la résistance on this and get ready to start. It is of course a Lister 2-cylinder air-cooled diesel, which means there's no radiator, there's no water check either. But we do have this remarkable doohickey on the front and this handle. So I know what you're all thinking. Haha, Lawrie's going to have to do a hand start thing again. Not quite. You see, this is a spring-loaded device. We push the thing into here, push the reset button on that, and then we wind it up. Yes, really, it's like clockwork. Wind it, wind it, wind it, wind it, and one more for luck. Pull that out, and now we've wound the spring up in that. And the theory goes that by lifting that doohickey lever there, hopefully the spring will turn the engine over enough for it to fire into life. Now, the big thing to do at this stage is to make sure that it's not in gear. And then be on the linkage here, just in case. So, here we go. Here goes nothing. That is absolutely magnificent black magic. And with it alive, they've got a train lined up for me. So I'm going to hop on, head over there, and go pick up my train. Right, so away we go. I've got my train and we headed down to the other end of the line. My immediate thoughts of this, well, it's basic. You couldn't really get much more basic than this. This is Locomotive at its absolute minimum specification to be called a locomotive. The thing I do like though is that makes me very happy indeed. I like the horn. There's nothing on this. This is absolutely fantastic amount of simplicity. What do I have? Well, I have a gearbox. That's the most complex thing. Which I can now put into high gear and do a swap over there. I mean, it's brilliantly simple, isn't it? There's nothing to this. There's absolutely nothing at all of any complex. It's a lovely simple gearbox. You have 2 speeds for forwards, you have low and high, and you have 2 speeds for backwards. It's all on that. It works on the clutch. You can change gear as you're going along, unlike so many other engines. I think motor rail simplexes that just complain when you try and change gear. This is lovely. It just does what you want. The controls are simple. Visibility everywhere is just marvellous. The crossing up ahead. I can see everything. The only thing that hampers my view is the fact the engine's sat next door to me. And I can feel the heat coming off that as well. So in winter, you've got kind of a hand warmer going on there. It sounds lovely. The noise isn't too bad in here either because there's nothing to reverberate. The only thing is the roof up there, the sound can reverberate off that. But on a day like today where it's been threatening to rain all day, I am very grateful for the roof above my head. This is the only bit of luxury, this is the only bit of any sophistication at all that this locomotive has, is the addition of a roof. And it really makes you think, driving this out on the peat fields like it was designed to, well, not designed, but like it did originally, must have been an amazingly grim thing. Sat out there on the open nothingness, on the moors, the wind howling past. I mean, I can understand why the other Lister I drove ages ago, the one with the hydraulic drive, the shed on wheels, why they made the compartment around it. Because that would have started off its life like this. Is just brilliant. It's part of that age where if something breaks, you can probably fix it out on the run. It doesn't need a fit or anything, you just hit it and it goes back together. It's just simple and anybody can drive it without a minimum of training, just clutch, accelerator, go. If you can drive a car, you can drive this. It is, without doubt, one of the easiest locomotives I've ever tried to drive. Just because it is so unbelievably simple. It's just phenomenally good. It really does suit the railway here well. It feels like a light railway engine. I know that these listers are very popular with other light railways because they are just so simple. They suit a light railway. It's a light railway engine and it looks so at home here, winding its way along. It's just magnificent. And yes, there's very little suspension. I feel every single joint, bump, change of, well, anything, change of gradient, rise, fall, everything I feel. The seat isn't sprung, it's just metal. Yet I'm quite comfortable here. I don't think I want to do it every single day. No, it's not an everyday vehicle. No, sir. But for a one-day thing, I've driven a lot worse that are much more uncomfortable, whereas this is just, well, it's fine. It's comfortable enough. maybe I could do with the seat going up a little bit so I could actually rest my foot on the throttle a little. I feel a little bit of cramp going on in my leg trying to sit at this angle. I'll tell you the other thing, I want the clutch to be here, right in front of my leg there. Because if I'm driving, especially that way, and I'm looking about for something, I kind of fumble around with where is it? It's somewhere, it's just a bit too far over there for my liking. Main characteristics about this thing though is it is exceptionally light. Down there I can see the chain going around off my drive, and that's very useful to be able to see because it's very easy to make it slip. It's not hugely powerful, mainly because it just don't have the traction. The little 2-cylinder unit in front of me, yeah, I feel that that's got way more power than the chassis can actually take. If I just dump my foot, it only just keeps on. If I put it into high gear and do that, it will just spin up, even with an empty train. In that regard, it's not built to be a powerful engine. It's not built to move heavy things about. In the same way some other things. I mean, let's not be around the bush. They did certainly move very heavy trains around with this. There are far more suitable heavy locomotives for moving heavy trains. This was built because it was lightweight. It could go over bad track work. It could survive on poorly laid, loosely laid things. In terms of an experience though, it really is fantastic. I want one. It's a perfect engine for your own narrow gauge railway. And certainly several people I know, or railway societies I know, which are smaller, narrow gauge railways. One of these is what they started off with, or is what they operate. Because they're easy, they're small, they're light, they go round badly laid, sharp, tight curves, and they just take it. There's nothing to go wrong on it, really, in the grand scheme of things. It's simple, it's basic, and it just works. And that's why it's an absolutely superb thing. And this one, in its slightly work-weary condition, is even better because it makes you realise how it would have been back in the day. This is how they would have been, this is how it would have worked. And driving along here, I almost can believe, just for a moment, that I'm back in the day. I'm moving around a pumping station with some kind of industry, moving coal in or something, bringing parts in from the main line. I don't know, but kind of believe that it's real and proper, because it's an absolutely magnificent little machine. And it suits everything here so well. I love it. It's just so quintessentially narrow gauge industrial. And moving around here, particularly this part up here, it's just brilliant. No, I don't want to do it every day. No, by today's standards, it's not comfortable. It's not refined. In fact, it's not refined at all. Nothing about this is refined. Although it is surprisingly controllable with the handbrake here. If I just put the brake down and wind the brake on, it will just stop. If I keep it on the edge of the brake, gently start again. There we go. It's certainly controllable. I would say it's not hard to control, but you do need to think, because it's on a screw brake, you just have to think that little bit more about what you're doing to make sure you're ready to bite the brake to start off with. If you don't bite the brake, you sit there winding, panicking, waiting for the brake to come on. So it's all about just thinking ahead. Again, it's an old locomotive, it's not what we'd expect with a modern thing. You just pull the brake and it stops instantaneously. There's all that thinking ahead and doing a bit more and thinking a bit more and just driving. Basically, I love it. And I think the thing that appeals to me most, like in mechanical things, is the fact that I do look there. I can see the chain coming off the crankshaft of the engine, flying around there, the guard there. I can see the chains going down there. It's very much alive, a fluid, living machine. And that really appeals to me. Even though it's basic, this stripped down appearance, this stripped down way that everything works, it makes it interesting, it makes it alive. And that makes it cool. I just want to take it home. And so that brings us to the end of this video, looking at the diminutive little Lister auto truck, and it has been absolutely fantastic. It really has lived up to all the hype that these little machines have. It's an absolute joy to drive, and it fits in here at the Western Zoyland Light Railway so very well. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. It looks so like railway just here in this area here, and it just looks like it always has been here. And of course, if you want more information on the Western Zoyland Pumping Museum, then the link to their website is in the video description. It's the home of over 40 working steam engines, which is a really impressive thing. So it's well worth checking out. Of course, there's links there to when they're steaming up, and of course, a special events like the Railway Gala. So, all things that are worth checking out. And of course, if you have like this, you're like, I'd like to get involved with this little railway, or I'd like to get involved with helping some of the steam engines around here, or just become part and support the museum, then they would love to hear from you. It is entirely 100% volunteer only, so do get in contact. They'd be very grateful, and they would welcome you with open arms. So with that, thank you for watching, guys. I really hope you've enjoyed it. Stop the rattle, swing in. Oh, and of course, if you have enjoyed this video, how about clicking over there somewhere for one of our other narrow gauge videos, or above it for one of the videos we've done on the standard gauge.